Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, where we look at data from this season for the NHL Nashville Predators, Predators, and make comments upon it. I am your host, Preston Proctor. All right, so the Predators are home for a 4-game stand. They play the New York Rangers tonight. Thursday, they play Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Penguins. They go on to play Saturday against the Los Angeles Kings. Monday, they will play Carolina. In this particular podcast, I'm just going to cover the first two, New York and Pittsburgh. Turns out, just going to be easier. It's kind of similar situation looking at some things to the Dallas-Colorado matchup when I was making my notes. Start with the notes that I had from the previous podcast, and I didn't have to change some things. It was kind of interesting. Dallas had some of the same characteristics as New York, and Colorado is Pittsburgh. Obviously different teams and going in different directions, but kind of interesting how some things line up that way. So I guess as far as my schedule goes, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. And I'll be on the air again prior to Christmas, but I wanted to remember to do that at least now. I didn't put it in my notes. Too busy thinking about what I think the Preds can do to win in the larger scheme, not in the practical what are they really doing. Just I'm sitting behind a mic and I think they should score more. Hey, I gave it away. So I am currently planning to do the podcast for the LA and Carolina games on Friday. And then I won't be around for the 27th. After the Carolina game, the Preds go on a road trip. They go on a road trip. I can see only part of the schedule here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Wow. Oh, they're going to play Winnipeg twice. Yeah, so they'll be in St. Louis, go to Winnipeg, Minnesota, Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, and then come home. So I think I will try to get the podcast for St. Louis and Winnipeg done probably next weekend, or I'll miss it. It kind of depends on the schedule goes. Things get really busy. I know everybody out there is busy. Same story here. So I'll try to get that done because it's going to be a 6-game road trip. If I miss the 27th on St. Louis, I'll give you my insights on that when I do the next. But anyway, so Thanks for listening. Nope, podcast isn't over. Surprise. Yeah, so that's my musings as far as what my schedule is going to be and how I'm going to put out the information for the next few games. But anyway, let's start by talking about the current homestand. They are facing 3 teams for the Metropolitan Division and 1 for the Pacific. The 2 covering today, the Rangers and the Pens, are number 5 and 6 in the Metropolitan Division. They both have 31 points. The Rangers win the tie by having played 2 less games, so they also have 2 more wins. So their wins per games played percentage would be higher, which I think is the first tiebreaker. So anyway, the Rangers. The New York Rangers, currently have the highest paid goalie in all of the NHL, Igor Shesterkin. I think I said that right, or close. Got the big contract, I think last week. Good for him. And they have the best goaltender in the NHL as the backup, Jonathan Quick, ex-LA King, Conn Smythe winner. What is that? Trophy, losing my trophies right now. Trophy for the lowest goals against average. Just a fantastic goaltender. And we will be at the game tonight, hoping to see Quick in goal, because I don't think he's going to start, in which case the Preds will have scored 3 or 4 goals, have at least a 3-goal advantage, and then Quick will have to come in. So that would be awesome. Love to see that. Happened last year, that exact scenario, and just love seeing him play. Love seeing him play and love seeing the Preds win. Definitely going to be pulling for the Preds, but pulling for Jonathan Quick at the same time. Going to be a tough one. And not giving anything away. We're also going to be at Saturday's game against LA, and we are going to be wearing our Kings gear. Pulling for the Kings. Yes, I know this is the Predators podcast. What can I say? I'm still first an LA Kings fan. Solidly second Predators, but first an LA Kings. Don't watch them very much, so it's kind of hard to claim that, but still try to. I think, as I've said before, once Kopitar and Doughty retire, move away from the Kings, probably less impetus to kind of have them top of mind, because since we don't live there, we don't live on the West Coast, we don't watch the games very much. Couldn't really tell you too many players that actually play for them. But anyway, the Rangers do have Shesterkin and Quick, and so that's their goalie tandem. This is the first game of the year against the Rangers, the only one in Nashville. They will meet in early March in New York for the only game there. The Rangers are 5th in the Metropolitan Division at 15-14-1, so fairly 500. 8-6-0 on the road, also very 500. And this is the second game in a 3-game road trip. They lost to St. Louis 2-3 on Sunday, and then after this they will go to Dallas and play there Friday. Pittsburgh, this is also the first game of the year versus Pittsburgh, and also the only one in Nashville. They will meet in Pittsburgh in February for the only game there. The Pens are 6th in the Metropolitan at 13-14-5, and they are 5-7-3 on the road. So they are a little below 500 and below 500 on the road. Notice the 5 there the Kings, the Preds, I think have 6, and overtime losses. Yeah. Yeah, so the Islanders are at 7, the Preds and the Canucks are at 6, and then we got a logjam at 5 with Vancouver, Calgary, Utah, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. And San Jose. Very distinct crowd. But yeah, so they are about 5. Both of these teams are about 500. It seems to be bothering the New York team more because they have made they made a significant personnel change. We'll get to that in a minute. For Pittsburgh, this is the first game of a 2-game road trip. But they are also playing tonight. They are playing at home versus the Kings tonight. Then they'll play Nashville Thursday, and then Saturday they will be at New Jersey to play the Devils. So that's the 2 teams that we're facing on the next couple days. The Rangers, notable personnel changes. Currently, left wing Artemi Panarin. He's day-to-day, but he is expected back tonight. And that's good for the Rangers because he's first in goals, he's second in assists, he's first in points, he's first in shots. He's got 15 goals, 21 assists, 36 points, and 94 shots. Like I said, he is expected to be back in the lineup tonight. Number 10, he is one of the Rangers players to watch. Number 10, left wing Artemi Panarin. Also out on injured reserve is defenseman K'Andre Miller. Notable stat for him, he's third in time on ice, so he did play quite a bit, but he was out of the lineup. Also out of the lineup is defenseman Urho Vakanainen. He's on injured reserve, hasn't played for the Rangers yet. He was traded to the Rangers from Anaheim while he was on injured reserve, so hasn't played yet for them and not expected to be back tonight, I do not believe. As far as transactions go, it looks just from transactions like they've been screwing around with their lineup. I guess that's or playing around with their lineup or trying to decide if they should play with their lineup. I didn't look at their lineup for the last few games to see, but they've been calling up and reassigning people back and forth from the Hartford Wolfpack. Gotta love it. One of the guys that has been called up, defenseman Victor Mancini, has been in 15 games. So I think even though he may have been called up, sent down, and called back up, he has played 15 games, which is significant. A couple other defensemen have been called up and played a couple of games, but Mancini seems to be the main one. And I'm assuming filling in a little bit for K'Andre Miller. The big news more recently than the Shesterkin signing or contract, on December 6th, they traded their captain, defenseman Jakob Trouba, not sure how he pronounces it, traded him to Anaheim for the aforementioned Urho and a 4th-round draft pick in 2025. There was like 3 articles on ESPN's NHL site. The Chicago fired their manager, but there were 3 articles about the Rangers ahead of that. One of them on this, one on this trade, and one on why they were doing it, and one on how the guys felt about it. And then, by the way, Chicago fired their head coach. Not that this trade isn't a big deal, but But all the other articles ahead of the Chicago firing just seemed a little weighted towards the Eastern Conference. Back to that bias. Check out my last season podcast, by the middle of the summer on the NHL awards. I did a big analysis of the Eastern Conference, primarily the Atlantic Division bias for the NHL on giving awards. That's my reference there, but they're trying to figure out how to improve their chances on the season. Right now, take a quick look here. Right now, they would be out of the playoffs. They would be out of the last wild card spot by 1 point. 1 point if they were tied with Ottawa. Okay, so maybe they're 2 points out. They would need to be ahead of Ottawa. But right now, both New York and Pittsburgh would be out of the playoff, out of the playoff hunt. So they made this trade, and they are 2-4 since the trade. They were 4-6 in the 10 games previous to that. Those 10 games did consist of a 3-game winning streak, then a 5-game losing streak. Preds fans are familiar with what a 5-game losing streak looks like, because that's how we all started the season. Pulling up my spreadsheet here on who I thought would be making the playoffs based upon my analysis on the 12th of December, I have the Rangers in and Pittsburgh out. I mean, anything can change, but based upon their winning percentage and potential for winning moving forward, but they would be the second wild card spot, and you want to be better than that. So kudos to New York for trying to make themselves better. I hope it doesn't express itself tonight, frankly. Except for Jonathan Quick being there, I have no love for the Rangers. I don't hate the Rangers. I did see a game in Madison Square Garden. Don't think it's the best venue I've ever been in. And I do have a New York Ranger ball cap that I don't wear, but I haven't gotten rid of, like the San Jose mock turtleneck I had. Finally decided I just was never going to wear it. But I still have the Rangers hat. Hey, it's red, white, and blue, and it's got the Statue of Liberty on it. How could you get rid of that? There's got to be a reason to wear it. Maybe paste over the Rangers or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that's the Rangers. They are kind of in a little bit of turmoil, with trading away their captain and then their primary goal scorer. One of the leaders on their offense going out. They've been in a little bit of a tailspin. Again, Panarin is expected to be back tonight, but I hope the tailspin is not over for them yet. The Preds really need a win. All right, and then there's Pittsburgh. On the personnel standpoint, they don't have a lot going on, which is good for them. Defenseman Marcus Pettersson is out. The notable stats for him was 3rd in time on ice and 5th in assists. So a little bit of work to make up for that, but nothing they shouldn't be able to handle. They're a professional team. No new transactions either. They've been fairly quiet. Interesting. A lot, again, still talk about who's in, who's out, who needs to make moves. I think Pittsburgh not making moves, they must feel comfortable that they are going to be able to do it. They are getting to the stats later. They are one of the highest scoring teams, which is not really surprising. People to watch, as I mentioned, for the Rangers, number 10, left wing Artemi Panarin. Also, number 23, defenseman Adam Fox. He's first in assists, second in points, first in time on ice. So he's going to be on the ice a lot, and he 24 assists and 25 points, so 1 goal. So you're not going to see a lot of goals out of him, but he is generating the offense. So number 23, Adam Fox. I know Panarin, number 10 left wing Artemi Panarin, number 10 Panarin, first in goals, second in assists, but probably the most dangerous guy out there, number 50, left wing Will Cuylle. Cuyle. Good luck. Somebody mail it in. I didn't have any idea where to start on that last name. No idea. Cuylle? It's probably something very simple. But anyway, he's second in goals with 11. He's third in points with 23. He's first in plus minus with 11. And he's first in shooting percentage, 20%, 11 goals on 55 shots. But plus minus at 11. 23 points plus minus at 11. So and like I said, the shooting percentage at 20% is, that's, just because they're both left wings doesn't mean they're not going to be on the ice at the same time. But anyhow, so that's the Rangers with Pittsburgh not leading in goals, but the person you're probably expecting me to mention first. But the people to watch, number 67, right wing Rickard Rakell. First in goals with 13, third in points with 22. And then the people that you're expecting me to list, obviously Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. So number 87, center Sidney Crosby's first in assists with 22, first in points with 30, fourth on time on ice with 20, just a little over 20 minutes, and first in shots with 96. So more of a playmaker than the goal scorer, 8 goals, which would be second on the Preds, but that's a different story. It's kind of interesting because they have, kind of still kind of scooting ahead a little bit. Pittsburgh has scored a lot of goals this year, and yet their leading goal scorer is at 13. And then there is number 71 center Evgeny Malkin. He's second in assists with 19, second in points with 25. Last in plus minus, though, at minus 14. So I guess that's one of those people that really want to watch because something's going to happen when he's on the ice. Pittsburgh does give up a lot of goals, too. Skipping ahead still, just skipping around here. So that's the Rangers in Pittsburgh. Now for the Nashville Predators summary. The Preds are now 8-17-6, 5-7-2 at home. 8th in the Central Division with 22 points. They are tied with Chicago. Chicago has more wins. These games are the 32nd and 33rd of the year. Last year, the Preds were 19-14 in their first 33 games. These are the 15th and 16th home games. After 16 home games, they were 10-6. That was after 29 games, so it only took 29 games to get to 16 home games. When they were 10-6 at home, they were 16-13 overall, These 2 games are the start of a 4-game homestand, with the Kings coming in on Saturday and the Hurricanes on Monday. There are a number of personnel changes that have been happening with the Preds. A number of players out. Carrier, Lazan, O'Reilly, Yossi, and Nyquist have all been out recently. Number 45 defenseman Alexandre Carrier is still expected to be out. He's expected to be back on the 21st, so he should be back for the Kings possibly. Number 14 center Gustav Nyquist has been sick apparently, day-to-day with an illness. He's expected to be back Thursday, so he should be back against Pittsburgh. The other three are all expected to be back tonight. Number 3 defenseman Jeremy Lauzon out, expected back tonight. Number 90 center Ryan O'Reilly out, expected back tonight. And number 59 defenseman Roman Yossi, day-to-day, expected back tonight. So Lauzon, O'Reilly, and Yossi all expected back. Good news for the Preds. Hopefully spells bad news for the Rangers, but we'll see how that goes. No new transactions, no trades, no call-ups that I was able to determine. The people to watch, number 9 left wing Philip Forsberg, first in goals with 9. First in shots, 108. Second in assists with 11. Number 59 defenseman Yossi, first in assists with 16, points with 23. He's third in shots, and he's first in time on ice. He's also last in plus-minus at minus 21. So I think if Yossi and it's a Thursday night, when Yossi and Malkin are on the ice together, wake up, pay attention. That is the story there. Also getting higher in the rankings, you guys know about Stamkos and Marchessault, but Marchessault finally starting to make a entry into the top. Yossi going out for a couple days did allow Marchmont to become second in shots with 95. He's third in goals, second in assists, tied at 11, but second in assists, third in points. So he's finally starting to have the sort of stats that would make you notice. Stamkos is a little behind him, really not getting the offensive production out of those two players. And I meant to say this in a previous podcast, and I hope I am not jinxing things, but really disappointed at the number of penalties that Stamkos is taking. He's got 20 minutes in penalties. We're not even halfway through the season, and normally he doesn't take that many. Normally he's I think one year he had like 40 for the season, but normally and that was not the year they won the Stanley Cup. Don't think, but normally he's more in the 30-minute range, and so with a third of the way in the season, he's already got 20 penalty minutes. He's just in the penalty box too much, but I think the Preds in general are in the penalty box too much. When I was looking at the stats, I think they are fourth in the number of majors taken with 11, tied basically for third. Really taking too many penalties, definitely taking too many penalties. But anyway, definitely need to get the offensive production up. The Preds at home are 5-7-2. They did lose their last home game versus Calgary. They have lost their last 3 games at home. Last year, the first goal was meaningful. So far this year, it doesn't really appear to be. They did get, just of note, the first time the first goal was scored in the second period, and it was scored by the Preds, and the Preds won. So previous to the other night against Dallas, I think it was against Dallas, if the first goal happened in the second period, the Preds lost all of those, and that's 7. So it's a significant number. But they now have a win. It was on the road. So they are 1-0-0 on the road, getting the first goal in the second period. 0-4-0, not getting the first goal when it happens in the second period when it's on the road. So at home, they're 2-1-0 when they get the first goal in the second period. They're losing. Twice they got the first goal in the second period, but they lost the game. So at home in the second period, they've lost every time. But out of 3 games, twice they did get the first goal. So the first goal really not the harbinger that you're looking for. We got the home games coming up. So not terrible. They are 3-3-2 when they get the first goal. So kind of 500. When they don't get the first goal, they're 2-4. So it's a 2-1 advantage right now. Last year overall, it wasn't. Last year when they did not get the first goal at home, they were 7-11. So it was kind of a 50%, advantage. When they got it at home last year, they were 16-5-2. So, a 3-time advantage, just really not showing up. And I think that has to be because of the play in the second period. Those of you that have listened to this podcast for more than half a second know that the reason I started this was because last year I felt like the Preds were bad in the second period, especially at the home. So I started doing a lot of analysis, and ergo, in order to have something to do with the analysis, I started this podcast, and it turned out I was right. Winning by period so far this year. Overall, the Preds are not so bad in the first period. They started out the season terrible. I think they started out I'd have to go back like 1-6 and one. They were 1-6-7 at one point, but they're 9-7-15. So they have improved to a winning record in the first period. Now, granted, 15 ties, but they've won the first period 9 times and lost it 7. The correlation there does kind of bear out. So when they win the first period, when they win the first period, overall they're 3-6 and winning the game. So that's not great. They win a third of the time when they win the first period, they win the game. 1 of 6 when they lose. So when they lose the first period, only 16% of the time do they win. And then when they tie the first period, they're 4-11. Now, granted, the Preds have not proven themselves to be able to win. So as I've mentioned a couple times, everything looks like a loss. At home, they are 6-3-5, 6-3-5 in the first period, and that does correlate a little better. That they're 3-3 in the 6 games that they won the first period. They've won half the games. 3 times they lost the first period, and they lost all of those. And then of the 5 ties, they're 2-3. So when they win or tie the first period, it's looking about 50-50 on winning the game. If they lose the first period at home, it's not a good omen. The second period, they are 4-8-2 at home. Similarly, 4-8-5 on the road. What does that look like though? They're 3-1 when they win the second period at home, 2-1 when they win it on the road. I'm missing a number there. I got my spreadsheet. Hey, let's get the spreadsheet up. The second period, 3-1, same. I just didn't update my notes. But yeah, so they are 3-1 at home and on the road when they win the second period. Granted, that's only 4, but that's starting to be a correlation. The problem with 82 games, getting numbers that are statistically relevant is tough, but you can take a look at trends. And so the trend is that the Preds have a 75% chance of winning the game if they win the second period. Now, if they lose the second period, they're 2-6. So the 8 times that they lost the second period at home, they're 2-6. On the road, and I really should have updated that too, they're 0-8. So on the road, if they lose the second period, they've lost every game. And then when it comes to the third period, now I did get the notion to take a look at this with removing the empty nets, and it does look a little bit more interesting. The third period, they're 9-13-9 overall in the third period. At home, 6-6-2. And the 6-6-2, the 6 wins, again, translates to 5-1. So if they win the third period, they've got an 80% chance of winning the game. If they lose it, they're 0-6. And if they tie it, they're 0-2. So that doesn't look very good at all. They have to win the third period or they're going to lose the game. But that's taking out the empty nets. It looks a little different that if they tie, taking out the empty nets, tying the third period, they won 2 and lost 4. So, taking out the empty nets, I understand there's still goals that score, but that is a special condition where they are kind of giving up the ghost to try to win the game, right? So where were they at when they decided to pull the goaltender and in this case, when they tied the third period, they're 2-4. So that's looking a little better. They're still 0-4 when they at home when they lose the third period, and 3-1. So because the thing there too is that the Preds, when they win, they got empty nets. So that's why the numbers kind of get a little different, because 5-1 becomes 3-1 because the Preds were winning. They won the game. But they're the ones that got the empty nets. So taking out the empty nets means those periods became ties. So I think that's where the wins went. The wins, they won the game, but they while tying the third period, not winning the third period. So it's not a 5-1, not an 80% advantage. It's more of a 67% advantage, 3-1. But still 0-4 when you can't make a 0 better. Not just by removing empty nets. What you make is you reduce the number of losses from 6 to 4, so 2 of the losses moved that the Preds really would have tied six times in the third period, not twice, and the additional 4 games were 2-2 as far as 2 wins, 2 losses. So I think that's kind of interesting because it does kind of pull back and try to make the third period more compatible with the second. So it was looking like the Preds kind of really needed to win both the second and the third. And that would be great because if you win 2 periods, generally you win the game, with the notable exception to prove the rule. Happened twice this year, once last year. But anyway, so I think looking at what happens when the Preds win, lose, or tie the periods. The second period is a strong determinant, I have to say, and then they have to start playing better. The goal scoring in the second period is by far their worst. They're being outscored 23-37, so 14 goals there. And worse, when they lose, they're being outscored 21 goals. 21 goals in the second period when they lose. In the first period, it's only 2. The first period is fairly equal at 21-20. And the third period, 25-35. And when you take out the empty net goals, which there have been 19-7 by the Preds and 12 by the opponents, that it becomes 18-23. So they're, without the empty net goals, they're being outscored by 5 overall in the third period. And so the worst period is, even without taking that out, that's 10. And so the second period is the worst at overall being outscored by 14. Like I said, in losses, they're being outscored by 21 in the second period. They're being outscored by 20 in the third when they lose, but there have been 12 empty net goals, so that 20 becomes 8, right? Because the other team gets empty net goals because you're losing. It's rare for you to get an empty net goal. The other team get an empty net goal, but you still come back and tie the game. The Preds did get, I did notice the other night, they pulled their goaltender and gave up a goal, but then they were able to, they pulled the goaltender again and they were able to get a goal and then gave up another one. But I think they still didn't tie the game. I guess, well, maybe if they hadn't given up the first empty net goal, they would have tied it and then, had a better chance at potentially winning the game. So negating that one comment about, but that didn't happen. Anyhow, so the goal scoring in the second period, not looking great, which leads to when is the winning goal being scored? And right now it's 32% of the time it's being scored in the second period, which is really kind of not a surprise. And the highest percentage is for the opponents is 35% of the time to get it in the second period. That translates to 33% of the time when the Preds are home, the winning goal is scored. When they lose, the winning goal is scored in the second period. Then the other periods are 22%, the first, third, and overtime. Last year, very similar. When the opponents won, overall it was 43% of the time they scored the winning goal in the second period. And at home, it changed though. At home, when the opponents won, they would score the winning goal 44% of the time in the third period. So there was a very strong on the road percentage, so 65% of the time they would score the winning goal when they won in the second period. So the second period is obviously a problem for the Preds. And I don't know what the solution is. I just know what the problem is. I think the problem is easy to detect, maybe not so earth-shattering to say, that they're playing poorly in the second period, but they are. And it's costing them the game. So they really need to figure out a way to play better. I've tried to do a little bit of analysis of shift times, and when we looked at the Capitals the other day, noticed their shift times were actually higher for their primary forwards than the Preds. I don't know that is necessarily the right decision, and I think it's going to depend on the teams, and so. So let's get back to the let's look at the matchups. So for the next couple of games, so we are playing the Rangers tonight at Pittsburgh on Thursday. With the Rangers, last year the visiting team won both games, and they both the winning team scored 4 goals, which is kind of interesting because at the end of the first period in both games the Preds were up 2-0. So the Preds against the Rangers last year in the first period were able to score, but that didn't translate into winning the game. Interestingly enough, the winner of the second period last year against the Rangers did win both games, and in neither game did the Preds score in the third period. I think when the Preds won, I think it was 4-3, and I think when they lost, well, they had to have had 2, but anyway. So that's kind of interesting. The second period winner won both games. The visiting team won both games. The Preds got 2 goals in the first period and none in the third, which, again, kind of highlights how the importance of the second period. Against Pittsburgh, a little different. The home team won both games. The winning team had a 2-0 lead at the end of the first period. Interesting. The losing team scored 2 goals total. Pittsburgh scored 1 goal in both second periods. Nashville, in the second period, scored 0. In the win, they scored 0 goals in the second period. And in the loss, they scored 2. So they were able to the kind of exactly opposite of the Rangers in that the team that lost the second period won the game. So both of these teams are completely opposite. With the Rangers, the visiting team wins. The team that wins the second period wins. With Pittsburgh, the visiting team loses, and the team that wins the second period loses. But very, very strange how similar and opposite these two, the two matchups were last year. And in the third period, again, Pittsburgh scored 1 goal in both, and Nashville scored 0 in both. And so that's another similarity against both of these teams last year. The Preds did not score in the third period. Yet they won 2 of the games, splitting the games with both of these. Very, very interesting how all that plays out. Comparisons, overall, goals for, goals against. The Rangers are fairly equal. They score 92, give up 91. They're 17th in goals for and 18th goals against. Pittsburgh in goals for is 13th with 96, but they are the number 1 team in giving up goals, 119. 119 goals they've given up. Nashville is 31st in goals for with 70. They are tied with Anaheim, who is listed at 32nd, but so they're listed at 31st, so there you go. And they are 12th in giving up at 98. So not scoring a lot, but definitely, well, they've given up as many goals, almost as many goals as Pittsburgh has scored. And the Rangers fairly consistent. Again, in the first period, the Rangers are fairly even. I can see why they're close to 500 because in the first period they gave up, and they have goal differential of 0 in the first and second periods, and they have a +2 in the third. Pittsburgh has a goal differential of giving up 6 more in the first, Nashville 14. And then in the second, Pittsburgh is at -8, and the Preds are at, wait a minute, in the first, Pittsburgh is -9, and Nashville is +1. So Nashville is actually in the positive, so it looks and Pittsburgh is third in giving up goals. So it looks like the first period, the Preds have an opportunity to score against Pittsburgh and have a lead. And then in the second, Pittsburgh kind of closes the gap a little bit, -6 to the Preds -14, and then -8 for Pittsburgh in the third to Nashville's -10. Don't have the empty nets for everybody. I guess I do if I look at the right stat. But so yeah, the second period, Yeah, against Pittsburgh, it looks like they've got opportunities in the first and second, strong opportunities in the first and second to get goals on Pittsburgh to get a lead. The Rangers look like they're going to be a little tighter. Looking at the NHL Edge, Nashville's skating distance is higher than the Rangers, which is a good thing. They're is better. I guess their skating distance is lower. It's a positive. Nashville has a skating distance advantage over the Rangers. Pittsburgh's is even higher, has a higher advantage. So I think that means the Rangers are skating a lot more than Nashville, and Pittsburgh not as much as Nashville. Just overall, Pittsburgh and all of the things weighted at NHL Edge, Pittsburgh is better in everything except top skating speed. Nashville is tied with them on offensive zone time, and that's true both Nashville and the Rangers as far as Pittsburgh is concerned. I guess they just have a lot of stats. I guess one thing, in general, we've looked at the Preds as being a very good penalty kill team. The Rangers are on par, if not maybe slightly better. They have the same goals against as Nashville. They're both first in the league with only giving up 12. Pittsburgh is 11th with 17, so that's not terrible. The Rangers do have a higher net PK, 12 goals, only giving up 12 goals on 91, and Nashville is third, 12 on 96. Pittsburgh is 8, 17 on 93. So I would not look for Nashville to get the advantage against the Rangers in based on penalties. I don't think that is going to be a differential there. So momentum. The Rangers have lost their last 2 games. They are 3-7 in their last 10. So they are having their troubles. Hopefully that continues for them tonight. Pittsburgh does play tonight against the Kings, but they did lose their last game in overtime, and they are 6-4 in their last 10. So better than the Rangers, but not exemplary. The Preds did lose their last game, and they are 1-9 in the last 10. So not really. Not really getting their game together. Really need to figure this one out. Need to figure it out by the end of the year, or they're going to be figuring something else out after the end of the year. The goaltenders mentioned a little bit earlier. The Rangers have Igor Shesterkin, who is 10-11-1. He looks like he plays about 3 games to Jonathan Quick's 1. Quickie is 5-3-0. Quick did play in the last game, which was a 2-3 loss at St. Louis, so I'm expecting Shesterkin in goal tonight. Last year, Shesterkin was in goal for both games against Nashville, which the Preds were 1-1. In the game that Nashville won, Quick did play about half the game and did not give up any goals, so Nashville was able to chase Shesterkin from the net, win the game, and we got to watch Quick play. So that's what I'm looking forward to tonight. With Pittsburgh, Tristan Jarry is 6-4-2, has been getting most of the games lately. He must have gotten injured because it looks like he was their primary goaltender last year, and they had to play somebody else. But the backup looks like it's Alex Nedeljkovic, who is 4-5-3, playing about the same number of games. Jarry has played in the last 4, so I'm kind of expecting Nedeljkovic, wow, I got through that, against LA Kings tonight, and Jarry in goal, I don't know, in goal against Nashville. That's what I'm expecting to see. I don't think that this stat is going to matter. Yari was in net when Pittsburgh lost to Nashville last year, and Nedeljkovic was in goal for the win. Yari was also in goal in their loss to the Kings last year. They had another goal to Hellberg, who was in goal when they beat the Kings. So I'm not sure that any of that is really going to play into their decision. It just kind of looks like it's time for Nedeljkovic to get the goal, and so I think he would be against the Kings, and then Yari here in Nashville. For Nashville, most likely Saros is going to be in both games. Noonan didn't play against either team at Colorado last year. Saros was in goal for the win against the Rangers. Lankinen was in goal for the loss, and Saros was the goaltender in both games against Pittsburgh. So I don't know that last year's experience is going to matter. I think it's kind of interesting to see, especially on one of these toss-up for the goaltenders, if a goaltender has a history of playing well against a team, they take that into account. So that's I'm not expecting to see any of that. I think we're going to see Sheterskin tonight and Yari on Thursday, and Saros in both games. I wasn't shocked that Noonan did get to play. Was it against Colorado? And because Saros has been playing a lot. He played against Dallas. Okay, he played in the win against Dallas. Saros was in goal against Colorado. Wasn't surprised. I posited before. I didn't know the trade was coming in for Wedgwood. It still doesn't explain why they would sit him so much. He did only play 3 games. Start 3 games anyway. I guess he came in for relief in at least one. I would expect to see the backup goaltender play more often than the backup has played here in Nashville. I posited before that maybe it's because the 5 players in front of Saros haven't figured out how to play together, and so they want their best goaltender in goal to give them a little bit more confidence so that they can try to figure out how they're going to play. That hasn't come about for one reason or another. I think maybe having a lot of defensemen out might have been a problem, but having defensemen out doesn't explain why the Preds can't score. Not that the defensemen aren't involved in scoring, but that's generally not who you're looking to have as your main offensive weapon. So I don't think necessarily, but if the forwards are not comfortable with how the defensemen are playing, then they can't be as aggressive as they need to be in order to score. Again, I think that we're taking a lot of shots and we're not taking very good shots, not really getting rebounds, etc. So I think the shot quality could be better. Definitely getting a lot of shots. But that's so I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked to see a Noonan in goal against either of these teams. I guess if I were I am so bad at this. Given that Pittsburgh is such a scoring team, if I was gonna see a Noonan in goal, I would see him tonight and not Thursday. They're coming up with L.A. and Carolina, and as I've said, over the next 8 games now, between now and the end of the year, let's just keep it that way, the Preds are going to be playing some really good teams. The Kings are second in the Pacific. Carolina is third in the Metropolitan. I guess both those teams have 39 points. So you got the Rangers and the Penguins right now. It's just the two easier teams than what's coming up in the other part of the homestand. And, and then they go on that road trip and they're going to play Winnipeg twice, who is still one of the best teams in the league. I don't think they're leading. Nope, they're back to leading with 45 points. Washington and Minnesota at 44. Winnipeg has played more games, 2 more than the Capitals, 1 more than the Wild. So they're going to have a tough stretch coming up. They're going to have to string a bunch of wins together, and in order to do that, you got to have both goaltenders playing, and the team's got to be playing at a high level. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Annunen in goal in one of the next couple of games, and then then maybe St. Louis. Do we have any back-to-backs? It doesn't look like that road trip has got back-to-backs, which would be a natural place to. No, there it is. Monday, Tuesday, Winnipeg, Minnesota. Oh my gosh. Well, there you go. We're going to finish off the year. These games with now and the end of the year is going to be back-to-back against 2 of the best teams in the league on their home ice. Wow, that's kind of rude. Monday night, 6:30 in Winnipeg, and then Tuesday night, 7 o'clock in Minnesota. Boy, that is rude. So I think we're going to have to see Annunen in goal one, maybe twice. Yeah, at least once. He's going to be in goal at least once more before we get to the whole Winnipeg, Minnesota back-to-back. We're going to end the year with a bang right there. I'm telling you. Annunen's going to be in goal sometime in the next. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. He's going to be in goal sometime in the next 5 games, and then he'll be definitely in goal, but in either Winnipeg or Minnesota. I'll take a look and see what I think is going to happen there. But yeah, kind of really think Annunen could be in goal. I think in one of these 2 games, Annunen's going to be in goal. I'm really bad at predicting stuff, so I'm not gonna do it. I've given up on guessing. All right, so the next 2 games, we got the New York Rangers tonight and Pittsburgh on Thursday. Tonight, look out for number 10, number 23, and 50. 10, 23, and 50. Number 10, left wing Panarin. Number 23, defenseman Fox. And number 50, left wing Cool. We'll call him Cool. Cool in the gang. Cool in the gang. Fox, Panarin are the gang. Yeah, so Cool, the guy I think the most dangerous guy out there. And but yeah, 10, 23, and 50 teams got the players to watch out for against Pittsburgh. The 2 guys, Crosby and Malkin, plus number 67, right wing Ricard Raquel. But yeah, like I said, Malkin on the ice, number 71, Malkin, Evgeny Malkin. When he and Josie are on the ice, time to pay attention, time to wake up, sit up, get out of your seats. Well, I can't get out of my seats. My knees are bad. I hate it when people stand up. Especially for long periods of time. I can stand up for a little while, but really, really can't stand for the whole game. Or even too much longer than the military salute. I always got to stand for that. So anyhow, thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor, and you've been listening to Predators Proclivity.